Germany went from being called the sick man of Europe in the late 90s and early 2000s to becoming an economic powerhouse. The secret? Well, according to Time magazine, it's all about specializing in the unsexy stuff like machinery and heavy equipment, rather than flashy gadgets like smartphones. Before China saw the title in 2010, Germany was the king of exports. Their economy got a nice boost from strong global growth, especially in emerging markets. From 2000 to 2022, Germany's GDP shot up by 90%, their exports nearly doubled, and they have the second largest GDP per capita after the US. They really hit it off with emerging markets, with exports to India skyrocketing by 9-fold and exports to China growing a whopping 12-fold. Let's take a trip down memory lane to the time of World War II to see how they made a miraculous recovery and began their success story. At the start of World War II, in order to allocate limited resources, the government created a priority list. Production of consumer items was ranked close to the bottom, with activities related to the war receiving the highest priority. The person with the greatest priority would receive any gasoline supplies that were available if 2 users sought it. Though it sounds reasonable, this actually caused a lot of issues, and sadly, the economy collapsed after World War II. The Nazis' economic policies were maintained in the American, British, and French zones by the occupation authorities. In addition to broad general economic regulation, there were wage, rent, and price controls. All in all, there was an economic catastrophe with conditions that were almost famine-like. But the issues of the previous unjustified increase in the money supply appeared as a result of the regulations being loosened. Price controls had prevented inflation during the Nazi era, but once they'd got rid of that, prices went through the roof. June 1948 saw the long-awaited currency overhaul. The new Deutschmark took the place of the previous Reichsmark. The Bank Deutsche Länder was the name of West Germany's central bank until 1957, when it was renamed as Bundesbank. Following the June 1948 monetary, economic, and institutional reforms, there was roughly an 18-month period of price stabilization to modest declines. Then, the year 1949 saw a 24% growth in industrial production, and the first half of 1950 saw a 12% gain. The average annual growth rate throughout that time was 15%. The image of employment growth was not uniform. The amount of labor required reflects both the productivity and production levels. A significant increase in labor productivity was observed during the recovery phase. 600,000 new jobs were created in 1948. However, there was a net loss of 150,000 jobs in 1949 due to the loss of 410,000 previous jobs. In addition to this conflicting picture of job creation, 9 million refugees, both immigrants and expellees, have arrived. The lack of capital was the main issue. In addition to the issue of capital being destroyed during wartime, capital stock was also reduced by the confiscation of capital equipment for reparations, which discouraged entrepreneurs from making investments for fear that they would later be taken back. Because wages were not rising at the same rate as prices and productivity, no profits were seen at all. Stated differently, labour expenses per unit was decreasing. Between the same period, the Tax Law Adjustment Acts established tax incentives for capital formation. The Allied occupation force imposed a high, progressive income tax on West Germany that was based on the US New Deal income tax. To lessen the harshness of the income tax program, there were income tax modifications implemented between 1948 and 1955. The planning of investments in the bottleneck sectors of mining, steel, and energy was the responsibility of the West German government. The Weimar Republic's rent control policy, which was subsequently carried out by the Nazis in the occupation, remained in place in West Germany. As a result, there was a persistent housing shortage, which the government attempted to address by offering building subsidies. German exports rebounded impressively in spite of the loss of customers in Eastern Europe. Between 1948 and 1950, there was an annual growth in foreign commerce of 84.4%. In actual terms, it grew by 16% annually during the 1950s. As a result, West Germany soon eliminated its trade deficit and started to experience a trade surplus. At first, the majority of exports were manufactured commodities, but by the end of the 1950s, it became raw materials such as scrap metal and coke made from coal. By the end of the 1950s, West Germany's main supplier and consumer base had shifted to Western Europe. Being the significant exporter, it has the biggest percentage of industry among the G7 nations, at 26.6% of gross value added. The automotive, electronics, mechanical engineering, and chemical industries are the strongest sectors. It's among the top 3 exporting countries in the world, along with China and the US. In 2022, it exported goods valued at 1,576 billion euros, and most of its exports were directed to China. The backbone of all these exports, the industrial sector, contributes significantly to the country's economic output. making it a stronger basis for growth and prosperity than many other industrialized nations. When it comes to employee count and turnover, the automotive, mechanical engineering, chemical, and electronic sectors lead the manufacturing industry. These industries are linked to well-known established businesses with a global reputation like Mercedes-Benz, Siemens, BASF, or Bosch. The automobile sector continues to lead, with 506 billion euros in earnings reported in 2022. It makes a significant contribution to development and prosperity as an innovator leader. Because the automobile industry has strong ties to businesses in the chemical, electrical engineering, steel, metal, and textile sectors, it also protects revenues for other industries. The automobile sector takes the lead when it comes to FDIs, dominating almost 47% of all investments in the manufacturing sector. Businesses in other industries also have significant turnovers. There are incredibly successful new companies emerging, such as the pharmaceutical company BioNTech, which was among the first to commercialize a highly effective coronavirus vaccine. Take the healthcare sector, which was able to generate 392 billion euros in 2021, or the electrical engineering and electrical industrial sector, which was able to generate 182 billion euros in 2020. These industries have a vast range of services, and thus a whole range of job options. Not only that, but Germany is largely regarded as a pioneer when it comes to implementing Industry 4.0, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution. It has been at the forefront of this new wave of innovation since the phrase Industry 4.0 was first used at the 2011 Hanover Fair. The start of Industry 4.0 in Germany dates back to the early 2000s, when the German government realized that a new manufacturing strategy was required to keep the nation competitive in the international market. They've become a leader in Industry 4.0 due in large part to its robust industrial base, which includes top-tier businesses like Siemens, Bosch, and Volkswagen. These businesses have been eagerly adopters of new technologies and have made crazy investments in R&D to generate creative solutions to address the problems posed by Industry 4.0. The government there has been instrumental in the creation of Industry 4.0 as well, having established collaborations between industry and academies and given substantial financing for research and development. For instance, since 2015, the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy has contributed more than 200 million euros to research initiatives associated with Industry 4.0. Germany's manufacturing sector has been impacted a lot by the adoption of Industry 4.0. For example, businesses are now able to decrease downtime and increase operational efficiency thanks to the application of data analytics and predictive maintenance. Businesses also have been able to save costs and streamline their manufacturing processes thanks to the incorporation of automation and robotics. There are obstacles associated with implementing Industry 4.0, like requirements for new skills and the possibility of job displacement. But the German government has started a number of programs to assist workers in assuming new responsibilities and to encourage the acquisition of new skills in order to address these issues. All things considered, Germany's Industry 4.0 journey has been marked by a strong emphasis on innovation, teamwork, and investment in R&D. The nation is a leader in the development and application of Industry 4.0 technologies thanks to its manufacturing base, robust government support, and collaborations between business and academics. Germany is in a really good position to continue leading this new wave of the Fourth Industrial Revolution as it develops. Germany's economic success doesn't just come from all these exports. Small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, referred to as the Mittelstand in Germany, are the backbone of the country's economy and represent its fundamental strength. In Germany, 99.6% of businesses employ fewer than 500 people and have an annual revenue of less than 50 million euros. Of these, about 1,000 are dubbed hidden champions, global market leaders that the general public scarcely knows about. Germany is also one of the most integrated countries within Europe. They have the most neighbours of any nation in Europe, with 9 nations bordering Germany, of which 8 are EU members. For Germany, prosperity, peace and security depend upon European unity. Even in complex and frequently extremely volatile circumstances, it is a crucial mission for German foreign policy to further build and consolidate the Union. Also, Germany's European strategy has shown to be a catalyst for progress at every level of European integration, actively contributing to its development. With the appointment of Ursula von der Leyen as President of the European Commission in December 2019, the community witnessed a German leader. One of the 6 founding members of the EU, Germany signed the Treaty of Rome on March 25, 1957, together with France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The European Union is said to have been founded on the signing of this treaty. That takes us to another super important factor behind Germany's economic success. That is its business environment. It's actually a great place for businesses of all kinds and size to operate, since it is the economic powerhouse of Europe, boasting a highly skilled workforce and affluent consumer base. In addition to having 83 million people living there, the fourth biggest economy in the world has direct and restricted access to 500 million prospective clients via the EU Free Trade Zone. It boasts a well-respected educational system around the world that is based on a long-standing, strong emphasis on vocational training that is utilised in both the public and private sectors. Germany's reputation for proficiency, effectiveness, and production is based on this methodology. You know what all this means? Simply put, Germany is a magnet for foreign direct investments. The ease of doing business scores has increased like crazy in recent years. More than 10% of German workers are employed in this sector of the economy. Not just that, Germany is a stunning location. There is a robust and equitable legal structure in place, and establishing a new corporation is simple. Also, there are very few legal restrictions on foreign businesses purchasing real estate, and strong protection for owners is provided by an official legal property register. It's like a business paradise. Now, you have seen that Germany's economic success is stunning, but its economy is facing several challenges that can hinder its future economic growth. But before we go into it, if you like this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. The first challenge: Germany has weak economic growth. The Economist has labelled Germany as the sick man of Europe for the second time. The first occurred in 1999, a year marked by significant unemployment in the nation. However, whether this was a sign of chronic sickness or just the inevitable fallout from the tremendous shock of unification to the completely unproductive economy of East Germany is up for debate. That diagnosis seems more appropriate now. The German economy's sluggish growth is one clear sign. Except for Argentina, Germany is the only nation whose GDP was expected to fall in 2023, according to the most recent projection of the OECD. They will still be among the nations with extremely slow growth in 2024. Germans are aware of this subpar performance, of course, but bureaucracy, that is, the government, is mostly to blame in the public discourse. Even while German bureaucracy is frequently complex and ineffective, it is questionable if this is the primary cause of the economy's poor performance. As per an annual global ranking of government efficiency, released by the International Institute for Management Development, Germany's bureaucracy is averaged at 27th rank. The second challenge: Germany's aging population presents a demographic time bomb. The OECD reports that Germany has the lowest birth rate of any prosperous nation in the world, with the exception of Japan. Projections say Germany's population could decline by as much as 20% by 2060. They may need to consider providing financial incentives to promote childbirth and counteract the country's aging population trends. According to Hans-Werner Sinn, who leads Munich's influential IFO Institute, the combination of a growing number of pensioners and far fewer younger people is leading to an almost unsolvable and highly predictable generational conflict. There is no alternative but to increase the birth rate. This means that politicians should implement measures to increase the financial attraction of parenthood in order to increase Germany's birth rate. Promoting childbearing will aid in paying for the pensions of an older population, which can be compared to the many uncovered bills associated with Southern Europe's financial crisis bailout in 2007 to 2008. The third challenge: although it declined somewhat between 2009 and 2021, overall wealth inequality remains high. Deutsche Bundesbank reported that the bottom half of the wealth distribution accounted for an extremely small share, averaging 0.6%, while the top 10% of the net worth distribution held more than 50% of households' total net wealth in Germany over the observation period. But it goes on. The less fortunate 50% of households' proportion of total net wealth increased from 0.2% in 2009 to more than 1.2% in 2021. The net worth of households in the lower half of the wealth distribution increased rapidly, although from a low base, which was the cause of the minor fall in wealth inequality. Besides, they had paid off a significant portion of their debt. In addition, households in the upper mid-range of the distribution had an obvious rise in the value of their real estate holdings. To sum up, Germany dominated international markets for high-end goods like industrial machinery and luxury cars throughout the majority of this century, selling so much to the rest of the globe that exports accounted for half of the country's GDP. Books were produced about what other nations could learn from Germany, and the government's coffers swelled as jobs were plentiful and other European countries were sinking under debt. But the European Union and the International Monetary Fund both predict that Germany's major developed economy will contract very soon, making it the least successful economy in the world right now. The fact that the greatest economy in Europe suddenly underperformed sparked a flood of criticism, concern, and discussion about what to do next. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to receive more content. See you in the next one.